Good evening, everyone. My name is Mitch Barnett, and I'd like to talk about the topic of the road to freedom, the final act. So, in Jewish consciousness, we look at Chagim, holidays, as opportunities where the same spiritual energy occurs year in, year out. We don't just commemorate holidays in Jewish consciousness, but rather we relive it. And so what we try to do is understand the spiritual power, the opportunity of the time in order to take advantage of living it and growing in the way that the holiday is meant for us to grow. There's a connection, says the rabbis, between leaving Egypt, Yetzias Mitzrayim, Passover, and Shavuot, the giving of the Torah. In fact, the rabbis say the reason why we were let out of Egypt was in order to receive the Torah 50 days later on Mount Sinai. In addition, the Midrashic literature talk about the connection in the following way. They say just like a festival, like Passover as an example, where the first day is the Yom Tov and the last day is the Yom Tov, and the intermediate days have holiness but not on the same level, so too Passover in that motif becomes the first Yom Tov. The intermediate days between Passover and Shavuot are the intermediate days counting the Omer, and the last day of the Chag, the festival, is Shavuot. And finally, the rabbis say in a learning that you don't really have true freedom until you become someone who learns the Torah. It's only through Torah that you have true freedom. They learn it out from a sentence in the Torah which says the words of the Almighty were engraved, choros, on the luchos. Don't read choros, read cherus. Cherus means freedom. And so we clearly see that the culmination of the idea of freedom occurs, says the rabbis, when you receive the Torah. We want to understand just what that means. So in order to walk through that basic understanding and to get more of a depth of understanding of freedom, I'd like to ask three questions. The first question is, usually when we count, when we're anticipating an event, we say Grandma and Grandpa are going to come in 20 days. We count down. Oh, that's 15 days left. Oh, there's 5 days left. I'm so excited. There's 2 days left. It's interesting. We're excited to get to Shavuot, to the receiving of the Torah, but yet we count up. Why do we count up? Why don't we count down in anticipation of this great happiness that we're going to have to receive the Torah? The second question is, how does Torah really lead to freedom? I would submit that all the rules and regulations perhaps take away from our freedom. So how is it that Torah actually allows us to be free on a level we can't achieve without Torah? And then finally, if we're anticipating Shavuot, the getting of the Torah, and it's such a wonderful, wonderful event, why do we assign to the counting a rather esoteric ancient agricultural sacrifice, offering called Korban Omer? And we count every day in accordance with Sfirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. Very strange. So I'd like to discuss those three in order. And when we discuss those questions, I believe the answers give us an insight to the depth of what it really means to be free. So let's begin. The first question. It's interesting, when you're anticipating your grandparents coming, you don't really care about the intermediate days. You want to get to them coming. So that's why you count down. You're not concerned. It's not something that you care about, the 5 days, the 10 days, the 15 days. You're really marking the time when your grandparents come. It's not the same thing with the build up to Shavuot. For instance, let's say you're building a building, and you're up to the 10th floor of this great skyscraper that you've been dreaming of building. You tell Harry, I'm up to the 10th floor. And on Monday, I'm going to be up the 15th floor. And then the 16th is going to be on Wednesday. And then the roof, I'm going to frame out, the rooftop cafe. It's going to be great. Why do you spend that time? Because every stage in your development, in your growth, in your building is important to you. And so too, that's our process that we're going through between Passover and Shavuot. We're becoming something. We're gaining an awareness that we started in Passover, that we need to develop and grow and culminate in Shavuot. So the building process, the rungs on the ladder for us are very important. So we count every single day because we want to make every single day a growth opportunity for us. The question, though, is, what are we doing? What are we counting? What's the process of us? We know it's freedom because we know we started that process on Passover. But what does it really look like? How do we get a growth day in, day out to be people who can receive the Torah and really be free? So I want to submit that what we did on Passover is we were lifted up and we were given a sound and light show, which clearly showed that the Almighty ran the world, runs the world, is mightier than any other power there is. There's nothing else really to live for. He dismantled Egypt. He had a special mission for the Jewish people, and he wanted us to start that mission. Therefore, he took us out of Egypt, and he had a process of giving us his Torah, his mission statement, to succeed and change the world 50 days later. Great. But how do we work that in? How do we understand how that freedom changes us? What do we do with that? So it reminds me of a song that I remember back in the 70s. It was a song that Sammy Davis Jr., if you could recall Sammy Davis Jr., he sung the song. I Have to Be Me is the song that he sang. And the lyrics are very interesting. In the end of the song, it says, I'll go it alone, that's how it must be. I can't be right for someone else if I'm not right for me. I've got to be free. I've got to be free. Daring to try to do it or die. I've got to be me. As long as I've got to be me. And I want to submit that we'll understand that the essence of freedom is wrapped up in understanding who we are and therefore what we need. And so really what I want to discuss is I've got to be me. So who am I? So let's talk about spiritual physics if we can. The spiritual physics goes like this, and I think everyone understands that we're created body and soul. We're body and soul. More specifically, we're souls in a body. And as you all understand, our soul wants to get up and accomplish 24/7, nothing standing in the way. Wants to be good, a giver, a lover, a parent, a leader, all the causes in the world, 24/7, out of bed. That soul wants to accomplish all there is to accomplish in life. Problem is they have a body. And when that soul hears the alarm clock, that body hits the snooze. And that body wants to go to sleep. That body doesn't want to put effort out, doesn't want to accomplish to a great degree, wants comfort, doesn't want challenge. You have it. And that's the struggle that we have because we are a soul in a body. And we're meant to overcome the impulses of the soul, to not expend effort and energy to achieve our objectives. And the question I have for us is, we're a body and a soul, right? We're both. So who are we? Are we the body or are we the soul? I think if you ask everyone that question intuitively, people realize that they are the soul. They are the soul. And I'll frame it for us in a different way. If, God forbid, you have to have a heart transplant and you get Frank's heart, do you think you become Frank? We all know that's preposterous. The you is not Frank. That's part of now your new body, perhaps, but that's not the you. The you is your soul. That's the you. And we spend our lives understanding and appreciating that we need to get the body to appreciate the desires of our soul. And that is the beginning of understanding how we become free. So I want to just start by talking about a clarity that we need to have. And it's one of the biggest insights perhaps I've ever learned. And the clarity can be brought forth with a question. The question is, what is the opposite of pain? What is the opposite of pain? And I want to suggest that 99 out of 100 people, perhaps, even 100 out of 100 perhaps, would tell you that the opposite of pain is pleasure. Pleasure is the opposite of pain. And I want to submit to us that pleasure is not the opposite of pain. No pain or comfort is the opposite of pleasure. In fact, pleasures, all the greatest pleasures in life, the bigger pleasures that we have, having children, having a family, having relationships, a wife, teaching, leading, changing, they all require a great deal of effort. Effort is the price tag that we pay for higher and higher levels of pleasure. And if we equate pleasure with comfort, we're let down, because really what we're doing is we're avoiding pain. But the end result of avoiding pain is being stuck in a very low level of pleasure, because the higher levels of pleasure require effort. They require effort in life. Maturity, generally speaking, people understand that. When they get older and they become less immature, they realize they have to put effort for those things that are important. But if we want to have a clarity on this fight between the body and soul, it has a lot to do with going after comfort and recognizing who we are. We're the soul. We're the soul that doesn't want to not achieve in life, doesn't want to expend effort. And when we understand the clarity on that, we're able to perhaps better talk to our bodies, deal with our bodies, and utilize the clarity to live more in tune with what we want to achieve. I'll also submit another insight, which is many of us really live a life that we think is a spa, i.e., a life of comfort. Life of comfort. In reality, therefore, when we have setbacks, we have obstacles, problems, we can tend to resent those. We can tend to feel down about them. If we realize that life is a gym, because life is here for us to grow. And whenever we go into a gym, we understand that if we want to grow muscles, the way to grow muscles is with resistance. Resistance is what allows us to grow. So too in life, resistance allows us to grow. And therefore, if we have that attitude, we won't be resentful, but rather we'll see the challenges as life as ways, as vehicles for us to achieve what we're meant to achieve here. We will be able to grow. Very important understanding. And that's the first step in freedom. Because going back to what we achieved in Passover, if you all know we spend 7 days having matzah. Matzah is the essential food. It's not the fluff. It's not the distractions of this world. It's very hard to live this life and live for the dictates of your soul. There's so much comfort out there. There's so much easy, simple gratification out there that it's not always easy to navigate a course, to choose what your soul desires or what your body desires. Therefore, we have a 7-day training course, and that's called matzah. Matzah is the essential food. We recognize that we're supposed to energize our bodies. We're supposed to take vacation. We're supposed to use the physical world. But we're supposed to use it in an essential way to give our souls the energy to accomplish in life. Of course, our bodies and souls together accomplish in life. But our focus is not live to eat, but eat to live. And once we get that understanding in Passover, through our training wheels of the matzah, we go into the next 49 count up days. And we try to live in an essential way whereby we're using the physical world to achieve spiritual pleasures. And that is the ultimate in holiness. You should understand that whether it's in the bathroom, whether it's in the bedroom, whether it's in the dining room, all opportunities to have physical pleasure that we do for the purpose of spiritual growth is being ultimately holy. And that's what a Jew is supposed to achieve in this world. So one of the focuses that we want to have in the 49 days leading up to Shavuot is try to choose the desires of our soul over the comforts of our body. And that will lead us to a tremendous amount of holiness. I want to go further because really we can now even come to the first definition of freedom. Because freedom is really being the master, you, the soul, the chooser, being the master and deciding that you want to identify with the desires and the focus and the objectives of your soul rather than your body. And so therefore, to be in control and to not be beholden to the appetites, the reflexes, the desires for comfort, the desire to quit, the desire to avoid struggle and effort. When you're the master of your destiny and you decide to overcome those influences, you are free. You are free of the body to do what your soul wants to do. And in truth, that's the first level. But then it gets even better because that's what our bodies are actually meant to do. So I'll give you 2 examples from my life. Your body actually has taste buds, and you can change those taste buds. The soul can inform the body how it should behave. I remember when I was playing football when I was a kid, And it was an 80-pound weight league when I was 11 years old, 10 and 11. And for the first time ever in my life, I had to go on a diet. So one of the things they give you when you're on a diet is cottage cheese. And I hated it. I hated the cottage cheese. Hated it. But what happened was, as people know, your taste buds change. It was good for me. I started eating it. I had yogurt. I had granola. Your taste buds change. It's the same thing with your body. Your body gets in a rhythm of doing what your soul wants, and it changes. I'll give you another example of that. Any of us who are athletes know that when you go out on your first jog, your body says you're going to die. You're just going to die. The pain is difficult. And if you don't give up and you keep going, not only do you readily accept the pain for the pleasure of the run, the pleasure of the becoming what you want to become athletically, but you also realize that if you don't have the pain, you don't even have the pleasure. You don't even have the pleasure if you don't have the pain. Your body has a way of being able to go in the directions that your soul wants to go. And so therefore, that's the second level. It's not just that we're the masters of our body, like a horse and a rider. You know, if you let the horse go and the rider doesn't take charge, you're going to be on the side of the road in the grass, eating grass and hay. But if the rider's in control, then the powerful steed will take you so far toward your objectives. But the rider has to be in control. We are the riders. So the first level of freedom is that we're the riders choosing what we want to do, understanding that we need to achieve in life, and that requires effort. Secondly, we want to also understand that the goal is not to fight and confront the body, but rather over time to bring the body on your side, It's extraordinary. You know, man in Judaism is called Adam. Adam Arishon. Adam, from the word Adamah, dirt, earth. Adamah. Why in the world, if we are our soul, not our body, why are we called earth? Why are we called earth? Low, coarse, heavy, coarse. Why? That's not us. We're the soul. We should be called neshama, soul, ruach, whatever you want to call it, but not Adam, from Adamah. So it's an extraordinary idea, right? Earth, we know, when you water it and you fertilize it, can transform itself into life. It has the ability to use a potential and be transformed. That's what we're supposed to be. Our soul and our body together are supposed to transform our body. Like that cottage cheese. Love that run. Love the effort of success and achievement. And that's what we're trying to achieve with our bodies. And you know, when I asked my Rabbi Noach Weinberg, Zeka Sadik Vracha, the head of Esha Torah, where much of my Torah comes from, I asked him, why do we need the resurrection of the dead? Why does our bodies have to come up and merge with our souls? We're souls. We know that. What's the body have to do with it? So my Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Weinberg, said, all your growth is in your body. Your scorecard is your body. How did you refine your body? Your soul wants 24/7 to do all the right thing. It's your body that doesn't. How did you refine your body? Unbelievable. And lastly, I'm sorry, I don't have the Mishnah in front of me, but I'll try to say it in English by heart. The Mishnah says Rabbi Gamliel grew up among the elders, and he didn't know anything better for his goof than quiet, than shtika. And there should be a glaring question on that. When you understand that what he was getting at is when you're learning Torah, when you're trying to develop spiritual pursuits, he was saying there's nothing better than quieting down your body. And man, you could grow in Torah, you can grow in spiritual development. But the question is, why didn't the Mishnah say there's nothing better for your soul than quiet of your body? Why does it say there's nothing better for your body? And the startling answer, which is the height of this discussion, is that no, the goal of your body is to do the bidding of your soul. That's what gives your body ultimate pleasure. That's what your body is after. So just like that horse that you have to work in, Right? You got to break that horse first. And then that horse will be your loyal steed. So too you have to break the body in. But the goal, the essence of the body, is the body wants to be a partner of the soul, and it wants to take the soul, the you, where you want to go. So that's the full understanding of our freedom. On one level, what we've said is that freedom from the impulses of the body to choose, to be the rider on the horse, to choose where you want to go, to recognize that accomplishment takes effort and put your efforts where they should go in life, that's true freedom. And that, in fact, is how we, as body and soul, become holy vessels to do the objectives of the creator of the universe and achieve our potential, which is to transform our body and have the pleasure, the united pleasure, body and soul, of doing the will of the creator and reaching our potential. That's freedom. Okay, so with that understanding of freedom, I want to come back to the next question that we had, which is how do you become free with the Torah? How do you become free with these rules and regulations which seem to deny our freedom, deny our free choice, perhaps make us less free? So I want to suggest that when we understand that we want to do the objectives of the soul, that's what we want in life, and to become free of our body, to allow our souls to do what's in keeping with the Almighty's objectives in life, is what the Torah prescribes for us. The Torah, rather than being a rule book that denies us the opportunity to be who we are and who we want to be and fulfill our potential, it allows us at the highest levels to achieve our potential. It's very much like when you go to an amusement park and you realize, if you think back on it, all the rules and regs and safety precautions that the owners of the amusement park have, amount of people online, how you do it, how you get off, how you get on, how you have to buckle in, etc. Those rules and regs, which you might think are confining, you want to put your hands up, you want to stand up on the roller coaster, but you know what? You might get really, really hurt. And so if you want to really get from what the amusement park has to offer, to really enjoy what's going on, you have to have rules to funnel your behavior in a way that's good for you. So too, the Almighty puts in His Torah rules and regulations which allow us to engage in this world in a safe and productive fashion. If we understand those rules and regulations, we can get the most out of what our souls want to do in this world. And that's the first reason why you need to have Torah to actually give you the freedom that you want, that you truly want. Says, I have to be me, right? I've got to be me. And so I've got to be me. Therefore, I have to understand, who am I? Where am I going? What are my pitfalls? And how am I going to get there? First understanding of why you need Torah. Second understanding, as we've really just said, is Torah gives you tremendous self-awareness. It gives you an understanding of who you are, who you're not, what are your pitfalls, what are your blocks. You have to be aware. You have to have self-awareness to understand what are your challenges, what are your pitfalls, to get up. You know, that says that tzaddik, the righteous person, is not someone who never makes a mistake, but rather he or she is someone that falls 7 times but gets up. That takes tremendous perseverance. It takes a self-awareness, an ability to grow and to achieve. That's the second reason, from my opinion, why you need Torah to be free, to be truly free. And the third reason that you need Torah to be truly free, I would submit to us, I'm going to give it over in a little illustration. Let's say you have a poor person, a homeless person. I used to go through Grand Central Station when I lived to live in the city, and I'd walk my roommate who took a train out to go across to commute to Connecticut, and I would go up to my office real early in the morning, and I would see this homeless person. I felt really bad. I'd see this woman all the time. So one time we had a party. We had a bunch of bagels in our apartment, like 20, and I put it in a bag and I gave it to her. I was so happy to give it to her, and she was happy, and it was great. Let's say a big philanthropist sees this woman day in, day out, and doesn't want her to live on the streets, and wants to get her an apartment, and really wants to do a good kindness for her. So he gives her $1 million. He takes $1 million, he puts it in her bag. Problem is, she doesn't know it's there. Day in, day out, she's living just the same life. She's living like a poor homeless person. She doesn't know that she has the potential to live in an apartment and be clean and pay rent and go for food and go for education, see a movie. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. So I admit to all of us, you can have the self-awareness to some degree. And you can understand that life requires effort. But if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know the purpose in life, if you don't know how much potential you can harness and how to harness it, then you don't have the full keys to be truly free and to reach your potential. And that's the last of what I would call 3 reasons why you need Torah. Why you need Torah. Let's now go to the third question that we've talked about, which is, if we're here for growth, and that growth is freedom, and we've said that what we want to do is we want to live the pursuits of our soul, and ability to harness our efforts and focus on what's important to us and expend effort in the right direction and lead an essential life in terms of our approach to the physical world and eat to live mentality. And we then take that and realize that if we have the insights of Torah with regard to what's right and wrong for us, how are we going to actualize our potential? What is our sense of self? What is our abilities? And what are our pitfalls? And then we understand our objectives in life, we're going to get there. So let's understand, what is the reason why we count. We progress through this dynamic of freedom by counting, and counting something for the Omer. Sfirat Omer. Let me tell you what the offering of the Omer was. The second day of Passover, not the first, second day of Passover, every Passover, the Jewish people brought an agricultural offering called a korban omer. It was not an animal; it was a matzah offering, and it allowed, once you brought that offering, it allowed for the Jews to eat the new crop of wheat. Until they brought that offering, they couldn't do the new crop of wheat, and so forevermore, this anticipation of Shavuot and our progression in freedom to receive the Torah and fully be free to achieve the objectives of the Almighty and ourselves, to achieve our potential, is identified with the Korban Omer. Now, why would that be? What's the significance of that? So I heard a very beautiful idea on this. The Omer is really a volume measurement. The first time you see the Omer in the Torah comes in the Parsha of the month, the portion of the special cracker, the special food that came down directly from the Almighty to the Jewish people for 40 years in the desert. And I want to submit to you the following, because I think it's just a beautiful understanding. You know, we knew very clearly, coming out of Mitzrayim in Passover, that the Almighty was in charge of the whole universe. He controlled the world. He dismantled Mitzrayim, the superpower of the day. He has a mission for the Jewish people. He loves the Jewish people, and he took us out of Egypt to have a mission, 50 days, the Torah, and then we changed the world. And that's great. That's great. But you know what? You might have said to yourself, he knows me, like the CEO of the company. Like, he knows me. You know, he knows me. How can that be? Jeff Boaz Amazon knows me. So this superpower CEO, right, the Almighty, daily, day in, day out, for 40 years, brings your family a custom-made message every single day. No matter how much you collected of the month, a lot or a little, what you got was the same Omer per head of the entire family. It was custom-made for your family. And says the Midrashic literature, if you wanted this cracker to taste like steak, and you had the intention you want to have steak that day, it tasted like steak. If you wanted cereal, it'd be cereal. You wanted pancakes, be pancakes. The Almighty delivered exactly what you needed all the time, every single day, without a worry, without a care, exactly custom made to what you wanted. Now that is what we are focusing on now. Understand that what we're focusing on now is day in, day out, gratitude to the Almighty for what he gives us. We're building our own personal relationship with the Almighty, because that's what the Almighty did for the Jews in the desert. Because it's not just about a national vision. You know, it's not. The Almighty loves us. He loves us more than we love ourselves. He wants us to achieve our objectives. He wants us to have a relationship with him. And so therefore he wants us day in, day out to build a perspective on him of love and care and concern. And that's the final reason why we want to learn Torah. We want to learn Torah because that's the medium by which we can get in a relationship with the Almighty, each and every one of us. And to the extent we work on gratitude day in and day out, we're able, as a departure point, to receive and accept the Torah on Shavuos, ba'ahava, with love. And we understand that's the reason why we want Torah, because there's nothing else to want. There's nothing else to want than a private audience with the creator of the universe, day in, day out. And we understand when we learn this Torah, that when we have a felt presence of the Almighty in our lives, we can achieve so much. We can achieve all there is in life for us to do, without question. So real cherus, real freedom, comes when we're able to have a felt presence of the Almighty in our lives. And that's the growth. And that's the development that we do day in, day out by counting the Omer. Counting the Omer. We have one more week left to count the Omer. And I would submit that we all try in the last precious week that we have to count all our blessings, see how much the Almighty has given us, recognize how much he cares about us. That's just the beginning. Every year of your life, every day of your life, you'll be deepening this understanding, awakening this understanding, and you'll be therefore able to receive the Torah in a way that you were never able to receive before. Before I conclude and summarize, I just can't let the opportunity go by because I believe that this felt presence of the Almighty in our lives and the life of the Jewish people is never so important as it is now. Coming out of COVID, thinking we're out of COVID, having COVID in the rearview mirror for all of us. We all had the tragedy to deal with of Meron. And there's nothing I can say to those poor people who are suffering. But you know what? We're all suffering, and we all have to have a way to understand it, utilize it, and appreciate it, because we're marching toward Har Sinai. In 7 days, we're reliving the joy of that personal connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And yet we're in pain. And as a Jewish people, we're in pain. I want to share with you something that's helped me. It's a story that I witnessed personally, that Rabbi Weinberg, again, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, my Rosh Hashiva, told to us 28 years ago. So I want to tell you that 28 years ago, I want to say 1993, it's either 92 or 93, but I think it was 93. I was in the yeshiva at Esha Torah. And perhaps it was my second sukkah ever, maybe third, but no more. It was very, very special. And as you know, Sukkot is called Zman Simchasenu, the time of our happiness. It's the pinnacle of your happiness. If you're going to achieve the level of happiness that the Almighty wants for you, it should occur on Sukkot. It certainly should occur there and then be drawn into the year. And they say that the Simcha Beis HaShoeva, the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, which we danced out with our Rosh Hashiva out to a square right near the yeshiva, and had this beautiful party with the whole of the old city, was occurring that night. Problem was, the Intifada started in the summer of that year. And every single week, without exception, there were murders, there were deaths, there were bombings, there were shootings. Every single week. Even on Rosh Hashanah, even through Yom Kippur. How are we possibly going to be happy on Zman Simchasenu? How are we going to go out and dance with our Rosh Hashiva? I'll never forget what the Rosh Hashiva said. He had us in the base medrash prior to going out, and he recognized the heaviness of the time and what was on people's minds. And he told us the following story. He said in the Holocaust, the Germans made sport of the Jews. They'd come back broken from a hard day of work, no energy, skeletons, living dead. And they would get a group of them together, and they would say to them, dance. Dance. I can't walk. Dance. So they got together and trudged along. And they would say, sing. 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 So they had to sing. So they mumbled some words. What did they know after all? So they mumbled a song called Ashreinu, Matov Chelkenu, Umanayim Goraleinu. Ashreinu, how praiseworthy is my chelik, my portion. How pleasing is my lot with the Almighty. Praiseworthy is my chelik in the Almighty, my portion in the Almighty. How pleasing is my fortune. And they sang, Ashreinu, Matov Chelkenu, and they danced. And they sang. And they sang because they paid attention to the words. And as they sang with gusto, and as they danced with gusto, the Germans realized something was wrong. They said, stop, stop. And they wouldn't stop. They sang and they danced. And they were beaten to death by the Germans. And Rabbi Weinberg would say, only a Jew can hold simcha, that simcha, and the tragedy together. And he would submit to us that that connection to the Almighty, that enduring, unending, loving connection to the Almighty, our Father in heaven, Ava Rachaman, our merciful Father in heaven, who never punishes for retribution, but rather sometimes has to give a patch so that we can get back on track, that we can somehow be better, just like a loving Father would do. We might not understand it all the time, but we know because that loving Father has given us so much, we know it's the case. And we focus on the connection because there's nothing else that compares to that connection. There's nothing else that compares to that connection. And I would submit that it's the same idea with our ramp up toward Shavuot. For working on gratitude, for working on appreciation of just the connections each one of us has to the Almighty. It doesn't stop the pain. It doesn't stop the hurt. It doesn't stop our feelings of sadness for all the victims and their families. But I would submit that if we have a change, if we embrace this goal of Ahavas Hashem through gratitude, we see how important this connection is to us. We counter all our blessings. We do it with gusto in the next week, and we do it partly for the merit of those victims. You know, I'll just share with you one last thought. My Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Weinberg, and my Rav, Rabbi Forrest, said that when you're a survivor, you have to have a response. You're a survivor. Whether we're a survivor of COVID, or whether we're a survivor of Meron, or of the Holocaust, the Almighty has His plans, but we survived, and we have an obligation to do something, I want to end just by telling you that this period of time, this 49 days is broken up by the rabbis into 32 days up to Lag BaOmer, the day that was supposed to be fully joyous for the Jewish people. And from Lag BaOmer to Shavuot, 17 days. Lev is the two words, the two letters in the Jewish language for 32, heart. And Tov is the period we're in now. Tov, says the literature, was the start of the illumination that would occur in Lag BaOmer. The Bnei Yissaschar says the reason why we light bonfires on Lag BaOmer is because we are commemorating, so to speak, the light that's allowed in the world. It was called an Or HaGanuz, the hidden light from creation that comes out starting Lag BaOmer and illuminates our path, the hidden treasures of Torah. In Mishlei, David HaMelech says, in Tehillim, David HaMelech says, Va'ani kirvas Elokim li tov. He defines for us tov. And what does he say? It's when we feel a closeness to the Almighty. We feel the connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I want to tell everyone, in this class, we traveled a long way. I'm reading this out because I think it's an important message. We understand that to truly be holy and to use our potential properly, we're meant to harness this world for the pursuit of our soul and in so doing transform our entire self, attaining freedom and control over our bodily desires. We moved on to understand that it's only through Torah that we can utilize our soul's desires on the highest level, and understand that Torah frames for all of us the lofty objectives we should be living for. Finally, through our counting of the Omer and working it into our bones, a felt presence of the Almighty, to achieve through gratitude, we are truly free and capable of reaching our potential. Hashem should give us all the strength to continue to march forward for freedom with the Almighty. Our spiritual climb in the merit of those people who passed and the people who mourn for them should be a comfort for all of us, all of Klal Yisrael, and all of our mourners. Thank you.